I wanted to have a quiet afternoon, but one small trip to a coffee shop became a nice little experience. It was a warm afternoon, and I had finished my work for the day. I felt tired, but I did not want to go home yet. I wanted to sit somewhere quiet, have a drink, and relax. There was a small coffee shop near my home. I often walked past it, but I did not go inside very often. That afternoon, I decided to go in. I opened the door and walked inside. The coffee shop was small and comfortable. There were a few tables near the window. There were also some plants and small lights on the walls. I liked the place immediately. It was quiet and I could hear soft music. I looked around and found an empty table near the window. I sat down and put my bag on the chair next to me. Then I looked at the menu. There were many drinks on the menu. There was coffee, tea, hot chocolate, juice, and cold drinks. I usually drink coffee, so I decided to order coffee. But I wanted to try something different. I looked at the menu again. I saw iced coffee. I like cold drinks, especially on warm days. So I decided to try it. I went to the counter. A friendly worker smiled at me. I said, "Hello." "Hello, what would you like?" he asked. I looked at the menu for a moment. "I'd like an iced coffee, please." "Sure. Would you like anything to eat?" I looked at the food section. There were sandwiches, cakes, cookies, and small pieces of bread. I was a little hungry, so I ordered a small sandwich too. "An iced coffee and a sandwich, please." "Sure." I paid for my order and went back to my table. I sat near the window and looked outside. People were walking in the street. Some people were going home. Some people were going to work. Cars were moving slowly on the road. I enjoyed watching the street. After a few minutes, my drink arrived. The iced coffee looked great. I took the first drink. It was cold and sweet. I smiled. "This is good," I thought. Then my sandwich arrived. I opened it and took a bite. It was simple, but it tasted very good. I slowly ate my sandwich and drank my coffee. I was starting to feel relaxed. Then I remembered that I had my book in my bag. I took it out and started reading. I really enjoyed that moment. The coffee was good. The sandwich was good. The place was quiet, and I had nothing to do. For the first time that day, I felt completely relaxed. But then something happened. I heard a loud sound outside. I looked out the window. It started to rain. At first, it was only a little rain. Then the rain became stronger. People outside started to walk faster. Some people opened their umbrellas. others ran to nearby shops. I looked at the door. I wanted to go home, but I did not have an umbrella. I checked my bag. No umbrella. I looked outside again. The rain was very heavy now. I thought about running home, but my home was about 10 minutes away. I did not want to arrive home completely wet. So I decided to wait. I went back to my table and continued reading. The rain was loud, but it was also relaxing. I looked at my coffee. I took another drink. I smiled and thought, maybe I should not hurry. I stayed there for another 20 minutes. I finished my coffee. I finished my book. Then I looked outside again. The rain was much lighter. I felt ready to go home. I packed my book and picked up my bag. Before I left, I went to the counter. I thanked the worker. "Thank you. The coffee was great." He smiled and said, "You're welcome." I opened the door and walked outside. The air was cool after the rain. The street looked clean and fresh. There were small drops of water on the trees. I started walking home. I did not walk fast. I walked slowly and enjoyed the cool air. When I arrived home, I felt happy. It was a simple afternoon. I only wanted to drink coffee and relax. But I also enjoyed the rain. Sometimes small changes can make a normal day more interesting. That afternoon, I learned that I do not always need to make big plans. Sometimes a quiet place, a good drink, and a little free time are enough. Now I sometimes go to that coffee shop when I need a break. I sit near the window. I order my favorite drink. And I enjoy a quiet moment. Sometimes I read a book. Sometimes I listen to music. And sometimes I just look outside. I like those simple moments. They help me feel calm. So, that was my afternoon at the coffee shop. I went there for a coffee, but I stayed because of the rain. In the end, it was a very nice afternoon. Sometimes you don't need a special plan to have a good day. You just need a little time for yourself.